Okay, well, without further ado, welcome to New Kids September with Des and Robin.
Woohoo!
Yay! Excited to have everyone here. So what we usually like to do is just give a brief round of intros to everyone. If we want to start off with just what New Kids is, it's a community for new people in the channel. So when we were looking around, we saw that there are a lot of different places where you could be active, but there isn't a space for new people. So we wanted to do that. So this is just bringing everyone together. And without further ado, Chandler, do you want to give a little intro of yourself and we'll go around the room?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Chandler. I am a partner growth manager over here at Mail Protector. We are an email security solutions provider for MSPs, and I have been in the channel for 11 months.
Amazing. Taylor, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, my name is Taylor Thorson. I am a channel manager here at Connect Booster. I've been here for over 2 years, so I feel like I'm not so much a new kid on the block, but you just learn new things all the time. But Connect Booster, we are an AR platform that helps automate billing and invoicing for MSPs.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And Kelsey on her walk.
I'm taking a hot girl walk through the airport. Hi, I'm Kelsey. I am with QuickPass Cybersecurity. I have been with QuickPass for 7 months now. In the channel, almost 2 years. QuickPass offers solutions that help keep MSPs both more productive and more cyber secure. And I just love our little community we've built here.
Yay! And I am Morgan.
I was gonna say,
she's got a little bit of a lag. I'm like, I couldn't tell if she was done because she's still moving. I am Morgan. I am one of the hosts. I work for Gradient. We offer different solutions and modules for MSPs to make your lives easier. One of the ones we have right now is our billing module to help with monthly billing reconciliation. And we have alerts coming out soon as well, which is going to be really exciting for MSPs and our vendors that we partner with as well. And without further ado, we've got our special guest. Des, do you want to kick things off, like who you are, what you do, everything?
It's funny. So Taylor, you said that you've been here for 2 years and it doesn't feel new. I've been here for 6 or 7 and I still feel like I'm brand new and I'm just waiting for someone to realize I have no idea what I'm doing. One of these days it's going to happen. It's going to be great.
It's better from when I first started and you're walking around and you're I don't know anyone. I don't even know what this is. But it gets better. That's what I meant. Better.
Yeah. So Desiree Thomas, I currently work at Datto as one of the channel development managers. I got into the channel about 6 or 7 years ago. Used to work at Passportal, which is not where Morgan works, but under Colin Knox out of Calgary, Alberta. I'm super lucky that I got into the channel that way. So super excited to be here. I'm really excited for this conversation. I really like what you guys are doing here. I did know that even though I joke and I say that it feels like I'm brand new, I remember the first couple times getting into the channel and it felt like, oh my gosh, so much stress. And there's just a lot of things all the time and you have no idea what you're doing and things get thrown at you left, right, and center. And then there's a huge community here that it just means so much to me. So I love all of this. I'm very excited for today.
Yay! We're excited to have you. And Robin.
Hi, thank you for having me. I am Director of Channel Engagement for Channel Program. And Channel Program is fairly new. We've been around for just a little under a year, and we've got this amazing platform that's kind of like LinkedIn, G2, YouTube combined. That's purpose built for the channel, and it's to unify emerging technology vendors with MSPs. And what's cool is Mail Protector, Gradient, QuickPass, and I believe Taylor, you guys are also a partner. So it's so cool. We are really helping vendors just get out there and share, gain visibility and brand recognition. And Des, I'm sure Data will come on eventually. Kaseya has with all of their, different companies, but you guys have had a lot going on over the last little.
What?
Just a little bit. I've been in the channel actually about 20 years now, which seems crazy to say that because I don't feel like I'm old enough to have been in the channel that long. But as Morgan told me when we were having mani-pedis this weekend, you could be my mom. And then I just like cried myself over my wine. Little.
Absolutely. Well, we're so excited to have you guys here. I know we've got a lot of questions for you on just everything that we all want to know as new kids. I think the first thing that we kind of want to know is, how did you come to the channel? Did you know what you're getting yourself into, or like, how did you get into the space?
I'll take
Either-
that one first. For about like 3 months, I would like have to be like, okay, so what's the channel again? I definitely fell into it and I got really, really lucky. I'm a huge person on your connections and your networking and all those things. And so I kind of like always pick up people. And this random girl I had picked up throughout the way had posted about a job in Calgary. And at the time I had a great job. I loved it. I was doing great. And I just thought, well, my long-term goal will probably be to go work for a small company and like help them grow. So maybe I should think about applying, but I'll just send in my resume just for like to look at and like tell her like I'm not looking for a job, but just will you look and see what experience I need moving forward. And then was sending my resume to Dan Wensley. If you guys don't know Dan Wensley, I'd highly recommend connecting with him. He's one of the leaders in the community. But in that I went in for an interview and I didn't take the interview seriously. Like I showed up in like jeans. Like I was like, I have a job, like I'm good. But I had no idea what the channel was. So I didn't even know that was actually kind of appropriate wear for an interview.
Yeah.
And then I should preface this being like, I'm from Calgary, Alberta. So that's oil and gas. So I watch everyone get laid off all the time. And then I moved into travel industry for a while, which I knew there wasn't going to be a necessarily good future in the travel industry as well. So really trying to figure out like where the next move was. Dan interviewed me, and one of the first things he said in that interview that pretty much changed my life was the channel itself is pretty small. There's only a handful of people that you need to know that will guarantee yourself a job moving forward. There's a lot of people who, if you do well, will support you. They'll always be your voice in a room. And I took that really seriously. So whenever I had the opportunity to travel, because at the time I was doing sales at Passportal, Dan hired me, an hour and a half interview, realized it was amazing, realized that the opportunity in this industry was open-ended and you could really go wherever. So then I decided to, yes, I'll take the position. Thank you. Please, sir. And moved over. And from that moment on, I took every time I was on the road as an opportunity to connect with my peers in the industry. I call this the traveling IT circus. If you guys don't know, I'm like, I need to talk to the travel IT circus and realize that every relationship I built could potentially be either I can help them or they can help me moving forward. And that's kind of how I've lived the last few years, and it's worked out pretty much in my favor. So I moved over to Dado after working for a few years at Passportal, which was amazing. We went through a transition of them being sold to SolarWinds. So I got that experience of helping a small company grow really quickly and successfully sell from that point. And then moving over to Rob Ray's team, who has been one of my mentors, one of my coaches. I'm sure any of you have probably had the same sort of relationship at some point in time with him as well. He asked me if I wanted to move over, and I'm like, I call it paid education. Work experience for a lot of you guys, like I always say, it's paid education. How much can you get where you can actually learn and progress, and who are you going to be in 5 years and 10 years from now? And that's kind of everything I've done, and that's what's brought me here.
Yay. What about you, Robin?
Well, I love that Des and I, we have a mutual connection in Dan Wensley. He was one of my first, my first leaders. He was VP of sales for me at Level Platforms. But that's not the start of my story. So I started fresh out of college. I applied to a company called Enable. I used to live up in Ottawa, Ontario, and same, just like Des, I was like, what's this cloud? What's this, network? And because it was, all, a lot of that was brand new back then. And so I, went in for the interview and loved it. And I think I was like employee number 12 or something crazy like that. We were in a basement in an old building. And now they're over, 2,200 employees, like they're huge. So a pretty cool story to start. You know, and that was back in 2003. But even before that, I feel like my story is similar to yours, Morgan. My father was in the industry. He worked for Microsoft. He recently retired from there, so he was with them for decades. And I used to tag along to his business trips. So I would go to like the Microsoft Worldwide Partner Conference, and I was just in awe, like, oh my goodness, they rented out like Disney World. They've got, I think Counting Crows played, and I'm like, wow, like this is amazing. And I got to meet all of his coworkers and MSP. So I knew that, you know, I wanted to be in that industry. And so that's what led me to apply to Enable to begin with. And then from Enable, I worked there for a few years, and then I applied to Level Platforms. And that's where I met Dan Wensley. And same thing, like he became kind of a mentor to me in the industry. And I would go to all the trade shows with him, and he would introduce me to all the people that I should know. He introduced me to, you know, Kathleen Martin of CompTIA. And even to this day, she is, you know, a mentor to me, and I respect her. And, you know, she helped guide my way in the channel over the years. Same thing with, you know, industry veterans like Amy Luby, who I ended up working for years later. And so it's just, it is, you know, such a small channel, even though it's big, but it's very interconnected, and it is all about relationships and learning from each other and growing together. So
I'm going to piggyback that for a second. And like, because I think it's a super powerful point that you said there. Colin used to do the same thing, and Dan used to do the same thing, and Rob does the same thing. Is the number of times, or Christine Gassman would be another person who's amazing, that we would be on a vendor floor and they'd be like, Des, I need to make sure that I introduce you to A, B, and C. You need to have a conversation with this person because of this. You need to connect with this person on LinkedIn because of this. You know what? I think your social media presence is really good, but you should connect. This person needs to follow you. And it's amazing the amount of community and the amount of those connections. And like I would say to anyone watching this, if you have the opportunity that you know someone and you meet someone that needs to connect to somebody else, those relationships are what moves all of us forward.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think about the reason I'm here at Gradient is because Robin introduced me to Goldie like last year. And like, I wouldn't be here if I didn't have the connection with Robin. And I don't know if Des, you introduced me to Robin, or if it was vice versa, but like everyone in here has been introduced somehow. And I just think it's crazy how small and intertwined the space is. And I think that it's amazing as well. Like we're all in these positions because of like what we've been able to do. So it's great. But yeah. I would love to hear also from the chat, like just where everyone else has gotten started as well. Like how did you get into the channel, just from what we'd like to hear. Did I cut someone off? I'm sorry. Nope. Good. Perfect. Chandler, I know you had some questions as well. You want to kick off some of yours that you had for our lovely ladies?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so my first question, and it can be to either of you. I would say, like, what do you personally think is the first step if you are considering a career in the channel? What is the first step that you should take in starting that career?
I'm going to go with LinkedIn first. Nowadays, I think LinkedIn profile is probably the most powerful thing to try to get into the business, even whether you are from a serving industry or you have no education or wherever you're at. And then following the people that you're interested in. A lot of the times I talk to people and they're like, I'm not technical. I can't work in tech. I'm not technical. I know nothing about tech. It's very hilarious that I'm in tech, but I quote it to be like, you don't have to be a pilot to work in an airport. There's many different fields. There's people who sell flights. There's people who are cleaners. There's people, whatever. And that's the same thing with tech. If you got to find what you're interested in doing. You might be a marketing person. If you might be a salesperson, maybe you're interested in problem solving or any of these, but figuring out where you would fit in tech, because there's so much opportunity, and then finding those businesses that you're interested in and then seeing where the opportunity lies within each one of those businesses, especially with the work from anywhere world. You don't have to look at Calgary. If I only looked at Calgary outside of Passportal, I never ever would have gotten a job in this industry at all.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, Des, because I mean, the best salespeople in the industry don't have a tech background. They're just good at connections, good at talking to people, good at, just relationship building. And that's on the sales side, that's the biggest thing. Yeah, it's important to, be a closer as well. But even if you're not a closer, there's opportunities within sales to be a gatherer, or growing that relationship. So after the sale, being a customer success person. So there's so many opportunities.
And it all starts with LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
With LinkedIn education, just following people who might have followed the same career paths. We talk about like networking and meeting people. So looking at people, and maybe you're not necessarily applying for jobs that you don't know how to get there, but reaching out to the people who have those jobs and finding out how they got there for those specific positions. Because let's face it, I'm not going to go to school to be a developer because I hate it. I could never do that job. I don't have the attention to detail. I don't understand it. And whoever you guys who do it, you're amazing at it. But if I had just decided that was the only way into tech, I never would have done it because I could never do that job. So really thinking where your strongest points are, and then trying to find a person or a job who does that, and then find how you can weave that in and get to your next steps.
Yeah, and there's also resources too for people who aren't in the industry to see what's out there, like the Advancing Women in Technology, joining that group. And there's always posts saying, oh, we're looking for somebody who's good at this or good at that. So there are so many resources to take advantage of. And yeah, it's important to know where to look, but have somebody in the industry invite you. There's been people that are not in the industry that I'm like, oh, this would be a perfect position for you, or tagging them in a chat on the Advancing Women in Technology group and including them. And so yeah, there's lots of resources and groups available. And anybody who's not currently part of one of the communities at CompTIA, I definitely recommend you get into it, whether it's the managed services community, the Advancing Women in Technology group, or advancing tech talent and diversity. There's so many opportunities to connect with people. Yeah,
CompTIA has a lot of opportunity there, I think, is what I've realized being in the channel. Like everyone's involved in CompTIA somehow, like whether it is Advancing Women in Technology or it is the MSP space. Like I've definitely noticed that, and it's a good space to be in. And you're really involved with that one as well, right, Robin?
Yeah, so Advancing Women in Technology, it used to be a community. Now it's an interest group, but I still, absolutely love it and contribute when I can. We do have, a women's coffee chat, and it's not just for women, but it is Advancing Women in Technology coffee chat. So just to network and meet new people. And I love the different kind of people that join, because they might not have a background in tech, but they're looking to get in. And that is really cool to see, people coming to these chats, just looking to get in and meet people. And from those chats, we'll all add each other on LinkedIn and keep in touch. So it's definitely a great way to grow your network.
Yeah, that's awesome. Taylor, I know you have a couple of questions as well for our guests. What you got?
I'm not gonna lie, I think they've answered all three of mine. But I do have it's kind of like a random question, but did you guys have a mentor like when you guys first started, or you still do? And like, how did you meet them? And like, do you feel like that's a good thing for like people like Morgan and Kelsey and Chandler and myself to do?
So prior to being in the channel, I had a mentor that I would consider my mentor from a business space. She was actually, when I was debating on whether taking the job, to preface this, I was buying a house, and you're not supposed to change your jobs like 3 times in the 3 months before you buy a house. So my lovely Trevor, my other half partner Trevor, he was like, Des, you can't switch jobs again. So I'm like, but I want to. But anyway, so I actually first work with her where I'm like, if I'm taking a job opportunity or having a conversation, she's my leaning board to be like, my sounding board to be like, is this a viable option? Let's look into the community. So, because you have, sometimes when you have decisions like that, it can be an emotional decision and you're not 100% sure if you're just making it because I wanna. So is this a good decision or do I just wanna? So, and then moving into the space, Rob Ray has definitely been one of my biggest mentors. Christine Gassman, huge. She's been a person I bounce everything off of always. And then even like Robin, like from there, I don't have like a one-on-one, and it's something I'm actually looking into, like a professional mentor of someone who, or a peer group. Joining a personal peer group is something that I'm also interested in as my next steps. But I've always made it that I find people in positions that I want to be in, and then work with them to figure out, well, how do I get from point A to point B? And where is the difference between my value and their value? I don't have an education. Like I have high school and that's pretty much it, outside of random classes I just take because I get bored sometimes. So I always looked at it and been like, well, how am I valuable in this position when I look at everybody around me and they're in the exact same position? And then I would have people who would encourage me based on those conversations. I find that, so yes is the answer. I've had several throughout my entire career, and I find that they wind themselves in and out of my life as needed. And then you'll develop things. The thing that I love most about the channel, especially when we do all these travelings on the traveling IT circus, is you build relationships with people more every single time you see them. So where one day I might, like Kelsey and I were together last week, the week before, 2 weeks before, we might not even speak, but then we'll have one day where we have a serious sit down conversation. And that then makes it that the next time I have something good comes up, I will lean on Kelsey, I will lean on Rob. And Morgan, you and I have talked more than one time, and same thing, Taylor, like I've reached out to all of you guys on in separate spaces and been like, hey, I need help with this, or is there anything I can help you with?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with everything you said. And what I've found, so I mentioned Amy Luby and Kathleen Martin, and even, Rob Ray and Dan Wensley. They're people that if I have a question or I want to talk through something, I'll reach out to them still to this day, and immediately they'll say, yeah, give me a call, or I'm free this time. Like, it's so nice to have those relationships and people that you can talk to and bounce ideas off of, and because they've probably gone through the same thing. And then I've got people who will reach out to me and say, hey, I'd love to, get your thoughts on this. I'm looking to make a move, do you know anybody? And I love connecting people. I love just helping people if I can. And so that is what I love about the industry, is just how just connected everybody is and how willing to help other people everybody in the channel are. So
Both of you are so, like, you go above and beyond as well. Like if I ask something of either of you, you will take it to the sky. Like if I am like, hey, can you help me with this presentation, you're like, yes, and X, Y, and Z, and I'll do this. And like, you just, the way both of you are is so helpful, and it's needed, like for young people for sure. Like I know I lean on both of you for a lot of different things. Like Robin's been trying to find me a dog for forever. So, and that's like outside of work, but
or licking me like crazy.
is he?
Yeah,
So sweet.
so that's why my phone keeps bouncing. So Morgan came over to meet with him this weekend. He's my foster puppy.
Oh,
I hope
yeah.
my landlord's watching so he can say yes.
Oh yeah, James came up. I took him for a walk. He's a sweet dog.
He's super sweet, guys. This is why I wish that all of us were in the same like area sometimes, so we could all meet sweet dogs and each other in general. But one day.
And get many.
Sure you guys don't want to.
Afternoon.
Yeah.
That was so fun. But yeah, like I just love the relationships that we build in the channel, because it is beyond, just the, colleagues or peers. It's really getting to know the person and developing a friendship that goes beyond work. So, like I look at all of the people that I've met, and I can call them a friend, not just a, oh yeah, them. So.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny. I know that James refers to all of you as my coworkers. Like he's like, oh yeah, your coworker Des and Robin and Kelsey. And I'm like, I don't work with them. Like we don't work together, but we do. Like it's just, the community is great.
I was laughing because I just moved this weekend and I'm like, okay, I'm like a little homesick. I'm away from home, like whatever. And we're going to Jersey then tomorrow. And I'm like, I just can't wait to go see people that like, cause it's like kind of become a family. So I was like, oh, I can't wait to like get on the road again. Just like for like people that we know and like care about us. And yeah, that's like a super fun piece of this.
Yeah. Over COVID, I missed seeing everybody so much. Like it was not crazy, but kind of, it's like, wow, like I really looked forward to seeing these people every month, every 2 months, and not having that face-to-face time. And, it was hard. So then we started doing the weekly happy hours where we would still connect and chat about, everybody's lives and what they were going through. And I feel like that over COVID really, just kept us connected.
For sure.
And
yeah.
we've talked a lot about the vendors, but especially what Robin said during COVID, even the MSPs, like our partners, I had more partners and then vendors. You guys reach out during COVID, being stuck in Canada for 18 months, which is the longest I've ever been in one place in my entire life. So I started going a little bit crazy. But besides that, I had more partners and MSPs reach out and be like, Des, I just want to call in and see how are you doing? Are you doing okay? The number of MSP friends and almost, I would say family, I've been invited to American Thanksgiving. I'm still going to call it American Thanksgiving. I've been told that it's not, it's called real Thanksgiving, but I'm going to go with American Thanksgiving. I've been invited to American Thanksgiving for the last 3 years. Like it is amazing. People want to bring me into their homes. People bring their kids to events and they're like, Des, I want to introduce you to my children. I want to introduce you to my family. And it really is building a relationship that people who support me, no matter who they are, no matter if they're purchasing our products, like my specific product that I'm selling at the time, or whether they just believe in me as a person and they see the value of me within the channel as a whole and understand that that's more important than even if I'm trying to sell a specific product to them. It also helps if you're moving around from business to business, it becomes your brand about who you are, which is another one of those steps that help you moving forward, because all of a sudden it doesn't matter where you work, your value is in who you are as a person. And then your value is based on the company that you work for. But you see these people who've moved over and over in different companies, not because the companies are bad or any means, but like, let's face it, most nowadays, you're not going to spend 20 years working at the same job, especially in the channel. It doesn't really work that way. But I look at life as a 3 to 5 year plan. And every time I see these 3 to 5 years, they kind of just fall in my lap, the next movement based on all of the relationships, whether it be the MSPs in the channel or whether it be even the vendors across the space.
Yeah, that's amazing. Kelsey, I know you're driving, but I want to include you here and see if you
I want to be here.
Okay.
I will say I'm personally not driving. And speaking of vendor relationships becoming friendships, Larry Metter of Data Stream Cyber Insurance.
I love Larry.
We love Larry. We were on the same flight out, and so I am in his car right now. So I absolutely adore the relationships we build in the channel, and I definitely used to refer to everyone as my coworkers, but I've started, like, I was texting my grandma earlier this morning and I said, yes, my friend Larry, I'm riding with him. I'm seeing my friend Morgan. Like, it's definitely, we are all friends now. And that's a fun kind of graduation. The first question that comes to mind is, what has the best piece of career advice you've been given that specifically relates to the channel, because it's not like other jobs. Just what's the best piece of career advice you've been given?
Imposter syndrome. As soon as someone taught me what imposter syndrome was, that was probably the best moment that's changed anything. Because I've always just been waiting for somebody to realize that I have no idea what I'm doing. And Ben, we talk about, if you've never looked into imposter syndrome, please do. I think that majority of the population has to deal with it, but the idea behind it is that you never feel that you're good enough and you're always waiting for somebody to figure out that you have no idea what you're doing, even though you're doing a great job and everyone around you supports you and all those things. But that would, as soon as I recognized the fact that that was a thing, that was one of the game changers for me to understand that I had to see myself through your eyes and not necessarily my own, because I couldn't trust my own. So I would see myself through the MSP's eyes. I present on stage a lot and I always think that I'm doing a horrible job. And then I would get a lot of people come up and like, oh my God, Des, that was amazing. And I'm like, okay, well, clearly I'm doing something well. If also the MSPs and everybody is telling, and I still have a job, that's great too. I must be doing a good job here. So that's really good. So I would definitely say that that was probably one of the biggest things. And then just for anybody who ever speaks on stage, I have the worst stage anxiety in the entire world. I didn't know it until it was actually Rob Ray who told me. I was sitting in an event when I still worked at Passportal, and prior to the event, I'm like, it's not that like, right, it's not that I don't know what I'm doing. It's just I can't hear the sound of my heart or the sound of my, or I can't hear the sound of my voice or the sound of my heart. And he's like, you're having a panic attack. I'm like, oh yeah, that's fine. I just do this for a living. It's great. I love panic attacks. Yay. And then I realized two things to help me on stage, which are game changers, and they pretty much changed everything. Well, three things. One was there was a guy at PAX 8 who said to me, no caffeine before. So if you ever present on stage and have any issues, stop drinking caffeine at all the day before or the day you present. That's been a game changer for me. Try to reasonably not drink the day before. We all tend to have a couple cocktails, but at happy hours it can be a little more difficult. So make sure your control, get a good night's sleep the day before. And then my lovely coworker Jason Price, he's the biggest one who says this all the time, is no matter if you mess up, it just makes you more human. You know what you're saying more than anybody else does. And when you mess up, it just makes you more relatable to the people who are listening. Throw personality in there. There's things that you can do, but those would be the two biggest things I would say for personal job and like for career.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
One thing I would say is when you get into the industry is find the people that push you to your fullest potential. Find the people that lift you up instead of hold you back. And over the years, there are people that you see who encourage you and cheer you on and are your cheerleaders. And those are your people. And those are the people that will continue to push you to do better, and be there for you when you need them. So I think it's definitely important to find those people early on and stick with them. Keep in touch, even if you don't see them on the road, check in on them and they'll check in on you. And then to talk to about the speaking in public, Kelsey, I know you had shared a post last month and you had so many people reach out to you to share, similar stories or give you encouragement. Like those are your people. But similarly, like when I first started speaking publicly, I would clam up and get all nervous until, I got more comfortable with, MSPs and vendors and realized that they're my peers. They're just like me, so when you're talking up there, you're talking to MSPs, you're talking to, a father, a husband, a wife, a mother, so it just definitely, humanizes if you humanize the audience and just, I don't know, that's what has always worked for me. I just look at them as either friends or soon to be friends or, people that just are there for the same reason. And it's to learn and grow. And that's what I've always found helps.
Yeah, that's really
You're
helpful.
so right. Oh, sorry. Well, both of you mentioned that, and it's like, that's just so timely for me, considering I had that experience and I shared it with everyone. And honestly, I've got such great advice. Like, I feel like it's opened the doors to even more of a network for me. And I'm actually really looking forward to my next speaking spot. So I agree with both of you.
Well, and you, as far as advice, you have an amazing personality, Kelsey, and be yourself, like don't try to present and be anybody else. Use your personality and just let it shine, because that's what draws people to you. And yeah, that's another piece of advice. Just, be yourself and don't try to be somebody else.
On that point, I feel like that is what everyone's feedback is like, be yourself in your presentation and don't like hold back. And it didn't click for me recently until I was talking with one of my mentors just about like the presentation I had given before and how it didn't like totally resonate. But they were like, you're trying to give a serious, like, not moving, but a really serious topic of conversation. And you yourself are not this serious, like, cookie cutter person. So like, why are you trying to be like that on stage? And I was like, well, that's like what you're supposed to do. Like, you're supposed to, like, this is how presentations go. And they're like, no, you need to do it your way. And you need to be yourself and like actually crack your jokes or do however you're going to feel comfortable. It's going to make it easier and people are going to resonate with it more because they know you. They don't know this like presenter on stage. They know you as a person. And so that is, I mean, I've only given a couple of presentations, but it's like finally clicking for me that I can't, not everyone can be this like Steve Jobs of a presenter. Like, you've got to be a Des, or you've got to be a Robin or a Morgan or a Kelsey. Like, you just have to do it your way.
Also, like, when you put that into that way, think about how many presentations Steve Jobs has done. Like, yeah, like I've honestly probably done hundreds and I still don't know what I'm doing half the time. But I'm definitely each time becoming more and more comfortable. And the changer for me was exactly that. I just accepting the fact that my personality is my personality. And if that stands out, if people like me in real life and I'm engaging, as long as the point of being on stage, it's to be engaging enough that they're listening to you, that you're giving them enough value, that they're interested in what you have to say. So do you believe in the things that you have to say enough? And one of the things that I've started doing in my presentations is just because to me, I'm more passionate about it, but I talk a lot more about community because I do think community is so important. I talk about, well, MSPs, when you're talking about security, it's not just about security of the SMB industry, although it is, but think about all of the horrible things that happen if you don't have this as a dinner time conversation as well. If like, think about, like I talk about how I've got two friends whose parents lost their entire life savings from different scams. Well, all of a sudden, so interest that conversation on stage is now more important than it ever was before because you're directly, and then even worse, I'll bring this up now because I still think it's such an powerful conversation. Not only are we seeing it where the grandmas and the grandpas are getting hit and losing their savings, but we're seeing it where the teenagers are getting hit with the social media scams, where they're sending photos to people they now think are their boyfriend and girlfriend online. And then those photos are being threatened to be leaked. And I personally had a friend of mine whose son seriously contemplated suicide because of that. So for me, as light as I am, that makes it a lot more powerful because I'm also now invested in making sure that what I'm saying is valuable enough that the people then have a conversation at the dinner table to their kids and to their old people and within their community that helps the security across the industry and helps that maybe it saves a life with some kid, maybe it saves somebody losing their life savings at some point, things like that.
Yeah, for sure. Anyone? Oh, I have one. I don't know if I've asked a big question yet, and I know I have one for both of you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
This might be the last one we have time for, but I would like if anyone in the crowd wants to has any questions for Robin or Des, please send them in the chat and we'll be sure to try to get those answered if we have time.
You can also reach out,
yeah,
Morgan. I'm sure that anybody reach out to us at any point in time. Like if you ever want to sit and have a chat with either one of us or both of us or all of us, I'm happy to do that. Whatever. If there's anything ever we can help you with.
We could just make you permanent new kids if you want. Okay, so what is the biggest opportunity in the channel that you see for the next generation of newbies that are coming in?
Oh, that's a good question. I'll go first. So since COVID, a lot has changed, a lot's gone virtual and things are done online a lot more, even though in-person events are very important and meeting people in person is very important. But I feel like the new generation of people coming into the workforce, they are so savvy about everything social media, everything marketing and connections. And so we've got this new guy who started, John, and he is 19. He's just killing it, making connections, reaching out to people. And so I do feel like how the channel is shifting and the way that business is shifting, it's such an opportunity for people to get in and really make a name for themselves and really just engage with people from all over the world. And as Des said, like, if it wasn't a company in Calgary that she found, she wouldn't have seen the whole broad channel and all the opportunities that there are. So now that there's so much virtual and work from home and all those kinds of opportunities, the world is your oyster. I sound cheesy saying that, but it's true.
So much opportunity.
Yeah.
So much opportunity. I'll hit this one on 2 different levels. First, I look at it with the remote world. I think everyone here is remote, correct? I think, if I'm right. Okay. So we're looking at a room full of people and everyone here is remote. So we're all from different places, which also is amazing because it gives us different points of view, all those things. What's almost best about that, can you imagine nowadays people are able to get into an industry, work remote, and be able to buy and be able to afford to raise their own families in their city that they live in?
Yeah.
Like, if you can't afford, if you don't want to live in a big city, now you can live in, like, Toronto, I can't afford to buy a condo for 1.5 million. Vancouver, I can't afford to buy a condo for 1.5 million. Calgary, I can afford to own a house. That's like a huge difference. And I think that's a really powerful thing. The other is the actual opportunity when it comes to how people will push us to be better, the networking that we have, the opportunity to make sure that you find a position, and the relationship building. I just look at people that I know who are in different industries, and they don't get nearly to see as much of the world and have as many supporters. Like, we get an opportunity to talk to business owners and entrepreneurs, and every day, if you wanted to start a business, there's at least 57 million, not really, you know what I mean? But we talk to a lot of different entrepreneurs. You talk to these strong women who are, sorry, Chandler for the women in tech, but talk to these amazing, strong women who are business owners and who want to coach you. I know easily I could reach out to a handful of people and actually just be like, will you help me with these 3 steps? And they will. So there's just so much opportunity that if you open your, like, what your 3-year plan is, what your 5-year plan is, where you want to be, there's almost really easy to find the steps to get you there. And there's so many people that are leaning towards it. And then just because I think it's really cool, this tech industry, this channel that we're in, the amount of exposure we have to education, to cool guest speakers, to cool events, to things that just any other person I know who doesn't work in tech would never, ever see and be sitting. I've watched 3 of the Sharks, or almost all of the Sharks Den speakers speak. I've watched ex-presidents speak. I've watched Shaq speak. I've watched some really cool, amazing education that is so powerful. And it's one of the things that a lot of the times when you talk about the women in tech, people struggle with the whole idea that, oh, it's a boys club and you have to deal with this and you have to deal with this. It is changing, but also, when else would you have all of these other opportunities? So as much as people be like, I don't know about women in tech because it's too much of a boys club and this and this and this, the positivities and the more women we can bring into this, the better it will be. But I 100% would recommend across the board, any single person I met should try to get into tech, because I think it's changed my entire life. And I would love to give that to every single person that I could.
Yeah. And it's I hate to put this out there, but it is a really stable place to be too. Like, this is going to be something that's around forever. I mean, I can't imagine a day where tech is not going to be where we're at now. Like, it's just going to keep growing. And I feel like it's such a good place for somebody to get started and stay in. Like, I can't imagine leaving the tech industry after this. Like, I love the channel. I love the industry. I love everything about it. And it's a good place to be for sure. Does anyone else have any questions for our lovely guests?
Well, I wanted to piggyback on what Des said about, it's a boys club, but there's all this opportunity for women. Well, there's 5 of us women here. So we have the opportunity to, create our own table and invite other women to the table. And men too, like encourage other women to get in. We're a place where we can encourage and help lift others up. And yeah, I think that's important too. So I definitely see the tides turning, and I don't even think of it as a boys club that much anymore, just because of all the strong women who are making such huge strides in our industry.
And to triple piggyback, I agree 100%. The other thing that I like, it's not even about women necessarily in tech anymore, but it's about looking at like, you don't necessarily have to have money to be able to go to school to get into tech. You don't, there's people who maybe did something stupid when they were 18 years old and got them a criminal record. There's an opportunity there in tech to move into different spaces. There's just, for people who didn't have everything, there's a great place to start. No matter who you are, there's a place that I find that people can fit in this industry, and we support each other so much. And then a phenomenal amount of growth. I know, look at a lot of us and see what we've done in 3, 5, what the industry has done in 3, 5, 10 years and where we're going to be. If you ever, anyone who's watching this are thinking about getting into tech, it is by far something I would recommend anyone to do, because I think there's just so much opportunity.
Yeah, and to piggyback this again, I look at, I mean, my background is similar to yours does. Like, I have high school and some college, and I was a server before I joined the channel. And the person that hired me, he went based off my personality and just like what I had done and who I was at that point in time. And he felt like I was going to be a good fit for this role in technology, which I had no experience. Like, I had ties to it. Like Robin had said, my dad had been in it and trying to convince me forever, but you can be, as long as you, I don't know how to put this, like, you just need to be yourself, and that's what you can bring to the table, and you can learn the rest. Like, being here, I think, is like a huge thing. And I love that they're way more accepting too of like tattoos and piercings, and you can have pink hair, you can have blue hair in tech. You don't have to be, I don't know. I think that if you can't work on Wall Street, like,
That
it's
is
not
my,
like, yeah.
I say that to everybody all the time, and I know we're kind of getting short, so sorry for like taking the last minute here, but I think it's so much a part, it's such an important conversation. I run into, Kelsey, you probably see this all, I don't know if you get the same thing all the time. So anyone doesn't know me, I'm covered in tattoos. My hair is pink, if you can't see by the color anyways, but I get stopped a lot of the time at especially fast food restaurants or any minimum wage paying job, where people stop me and be like, oh my God, I love your hair and your tattoos. I'm not allowed. You even go back to schools where I follow a lot of different blogs where people are like, I'm gonna dye my kid's hair this color until September comes, and then they're not allowed. Or weddings, I have to change my hair brown because I'm not allowed to have this color at the wedding. We spend so much time trying to get people to fit in a box, and then telling them if they fit in this box, then they can succeed in life. But it doesn't work that way, and things are changing. And so for me, part of my tattoos and my hair that is so powerful to me is I look at people and I say, I work in tech. I stand on stage and people respect me. They listen to me. I'm a presenter. I have a good career. I have a path, a guaranteed a job, and my hair is pink. So yeah, you might work here, but it's changing, and you don't have to fit in a box. You don't have to be a certain way. You can be, whether it be male, female, purple hair, yellow, whatever you want to look like. To be successful, you don't have to feel uncomfortable in who you are.
Mm-hmm. And you don't want to work somewhere that's going to make you be in a box either. I think we've all learned that throughout our short times, our long times. You want to be yourself, and that's when you're most authentic, and finding a place that will let you do that is very, like, you just need to keep on to it. So
yeah, like finding a company that, they've hired you for a reason, and they take your assets and your strengths, and just that's why you're hired. And whether it's, you're a great public speaker, or you're confident and you have this amazing sales ability or stick with the companies that support you for being you and
I want you for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Amazing.
I will say, as someone who was still pretty new last year, I had very light purple added to my hair. The first time I met Des, she was speaking on stage, hung out with her later, and I was like, oh my God. I said, a leader in this space has pink hair. Like, I was so nervous about my own that it was such a comfort to me to see you being respected. And, obviously it hasn't stopped me since.
I love it. I love it. And it's perfect. As soon as I saw you, I was like, yes, yes.
People have started confusing me for you. So they'll be like, oh, when did you leave Dado? And I'm like, oh, I never worked at Dado.
Well, I think when I connected with you, Des, in my first few months on LinkedIn, you still had blue, I think. And I remember thinking, there's no way someone, because I was nervous about having tattoos, and I was like, this girl's got blue hair and she's doing really well. So I'll be fine with my one visible tattoo. I'm good. But well, thank you guys so much for joining. I'm glad that we were able to get through this little mishap of timing, and we were all able to go with the flow so well. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah, I'm
Little
sorry.
bump in the road.
Just a little, but it's okay. We did fine.
I was still in pajamas, so I'm like, hey, 1 second.
Luckily I have this closet right here that's full of extra gradient stuff, and so I grabbed the shirt really quick, threw it on, and started this. And I was like, all right, we're just
Here we go.
okay. Area. I'm good.
I got up early and did my hair and my makeup for this, so
You look great.
Yeah, at least you were ready, Des.
The rest of us were.
The hosts were not. So thank you for being collected today. Well, thank you guys again so much for coming. I know this was super fun. I would love for you to be full-time host. If anything, that would be fantastic. But we loved having you. Yes, we loved having you guys and learning from you. So I know there was a couple people that were asking for the recording as well. So all the information you provided for everyone, I think is gonna really be helpful for the new kids.
Right. I look forward to seeing you guys, a good half of you next week or this week or next week or the week after, because let's face it, we will all see each other within the next.
Yeah, I'm seeing Morgan tonight.
Yay.
See everyone very soon. See you next time.
Cheers, guys. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye, guys.